on the 6th round of the Hastings Masters. So I'm joined as always by Women's International Master Natasha Regan. Welcome, Natasha.
Hello.
So our final stream of 2025, Natasha, can you believe it?
I don't know, we'll find a way, won't we? We'll find a way to fit another one in before midnight, I'm sure.
Well, there we are. We've got some very interesting games going on. So actually, I thought I'd head straight to the game between Pierre-Laurent Pauli, the top seed, and Stanley Badacioni.
Stanley, yes.
Because that's actually a very interesting opening, I have to say. So let's have a little look at that. There's only one game that's been agreed a short draw between Hao Wang and Tor Frederick Carlsen. Berlin came on the board, and I think they just decided that was good enough for them. But everyone else is giving it a right old go, so that's pretty impressive, I have to say. So this, let's have a little look at this. So this was d4, e6. Stanley doing all sorts of interesting move orders here, offering a French with d4, e6, Simon Williams style. Maybe Pierre, sort of wondered maybe after c4 we might get an f5 here or something. That Simon Williams style. So he played knight.
Did Stanley play the Dutch?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I didn't realise. I'm maybe getting a bit confused. But Stanley's normally a modern Benoni kind of guy. Right. He played that in Hastings last year against Alexander Kovchan, the Ukrainian grandmaster. So I don't know whether, I mean, it's. I'm sure this was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, the point of knight f3 is if f5, you can also play this move d5, which is a sort of an anti-Dutch kind of thing. So, but Stanley played knight f6. So c4. Now, Stanley could have played c5, which I would imagine is what Pierre-Laurent Pauli was expecting. But Stanley actually played the move d5.
Okay.
Is it going to be a boring Queen's Gambit declined with bishop e7, or maybe a slightly more exciting but still rather boring Ragozin?
Ragozin. It's going to be a Ragozin.
No, Stanley went for d takes c4, which is the Vienna. The Vienna opening, which is quite interesting. But White played e4, and now there are a number of possibilities. Bishop b4 is the typical Vienna, and there are many different lines now, a huge amount of theory, of which bishop g5 is kind of, I guess, more the old main line. When there's stuff, for example, like c5, e5, c takes d4, queen a4 check, castle, knight c6, castles.
This might be a silly question, but do we transpose to the Queen's Gambit accepted? Oh, it's saying Queen's Gambit.
Oh, well, if I were to play e3 here, then we could transpose into a Queen's Gambit accepted. After bishop c4. E4 is not going to be a Queen's Gambit accepted unless if you try the move c5, when d5 is actually a Queen's Gambit accepted line. Whereas where you can do several things, you can go e takes d5. That's one possibility. This is quite a well-known variation. I've played this. I've had this against James Howell. Even I was white against James Howell in this line all those years ago. English grandmaster who's given up the game. This is quite an exciting line, but in general quite okay for black. There's also the amazing line that was played by Tibor Karolyi, Hungarian grandmaster, against Mikhail Tal of all people, which is knight takes e4. And after knight takes e4, you play e takes d5 here and get these three big pawns for the piece. So there's lots of stuff happening there. But
Evan, you've chosen this Hastings over Zulu.
Oh my goodness. So b5 though is a line, and I think I seem to remember, didn't Richard Pert write something about this sometime? B5. It's certainly a very interesting line anyway. and e5, knight d5, knight b5. Now, the interesting thing is that we are now actually transposing into a Queen's Gambit accepted here.
Okay.
With this line, because let me go back and show this to you. So d4, d5, c4 takes, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3.
Yeah.
Well, it resembles very much a Queen's Gambit, except it's not a direct transposition. But this line was played by Korchnoi an awful lot. E5, knight d5, a4, and then knight b6 takes and e6. So it's
knight b6 already. Then yes.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of similarity. I mean, the idea basically of this sort of line is that you might well lose this c4 pawn here, but you've sort of punched holes into White's pawn center and created all these weak light squares around it. So you're claiming that if White gives up his light squared bishop at that pawn, you'll have the two bishops and lots of light squares around that White central structure. So very similar to Korchnoi's idea in the Queen's Gambit accepted.
Hi, Wilsonia.
Hey, Wilsonia. But what Pierre Laurent did was very interesting. He played, so White's come up with all sorts of ideas for this, but he went bishop e2, and Black went knight c6, and he went knight c6, which is the main line, and then castles. And then Stanley played bishop b7. Bishop e7 is also a very common move indeed. I think it's probably it's by far the most common in the Masters database as well. People are playing bishop e7. And I'm wondering whether there's actually a specific reason for that, because bishop b7 doesn't figure very heavily in the Masters database. And the move that Pierre-Laurent Pauli played next does not figure at all.
Oh.
It's the move d5, which is quite shocking.
Is it good?
I don't know, but it's played a lot in the It's played a reasonable amount in the Lichess database, and that scored very, very heavily indeed. Okay. So what on earth is the point of d5, you may ask?
Oh, and they're top games there as well, aren't there? And so it is
some decent games as well. Yeah, I mean, not weak players. Not super strong blitz players, but not weak players at all. And it's been played. I mean, it's a sort of thing you.
I tell you what, this BRM 1965 seems to be playing it.
Indeed.
Twice.
Yeah, twice indeed. I think with Black though. I think the top one is the Black one. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, what is the point? Well, of course, Queen takes d5 allows knight c7 check. That's the first thing that you've got to do. So Black's basically got two possibilities here: e takes d5 and knight d5. I mean, knight d5 allows you to take with a bishop on c4. So it's not your go-to move in actual fact. But what's the idea of d5? I was kind of wondering, and it seems like the idea really is to play e6.
Okay, what if we keep taking it?
We keep taking, and now, I mean, there's two things that you might think of. There's bishop f4, which attacks the pawn on c7. But I guess you'd probably kind of think that, oh, maybe I'd have something like bishop d6 or something to block. It doesn't look so crazy. But I guess that the idea was to play the move knight g5. You're hitting that pawn on e6, and well, I mean, these two knights could combine. That's what you're aiming for. And of course, having played knight g5, you're aiming for bishop g4 and or bishop h5, and possibly then queen f3, rook e1. There's a lot of potential quick pressure coming up on those e6 pawns, on that e6 pawn, and those kingside light squares. And I mean, looking at what the Black players have played, bishop c8 was has been the most common, and then we've had both bishop h5 and bishop g4. Actually, even the move queen c2, which was probably teeing up a sneaky bishop h5 followed by bishop takes g6. I would have thought that. I mean, yeah, bishop g4. I would have thought would be the most interesting there. And then, yeah, indeed, how are you sort of keeping all this together? I mean, Yeah, a6 has been played there, but yeah, bishop e6. I mean, it looks incredibly dangerous at the very least. You know, whether it's winning or not. You might have something. You might have something, you know, concrete to keep it together, but it's obviously incredibly dangerous. So that's very interesting. Not at all in the Masters database. I don't have it either.
And to tell you what, all those games are recent as well, those top games.
They're very recent. To be honest, it's the sort of thing that might have come up in, you know, something like Richard Palliser's Chess Publishing or something, you know, where somebody sort of, or maybe it's on a Chessable course or something. You never know. But it hasn't been played in Master Chess, and it's only come up on Lee Chess quite recently somehow, you know. So so that's quite that's really, really interesting. I've never seen it before, and have actually looked at this this line for both colours, I think, and d5 had never occurred to me, but so quite fascinating. Well, Stanley spent something like 17 minutes on this, which for him is an eternity, of course. So knight takes d5 played, bishop takes c4 played, and now a6 from Stanley. Has never been played before. That's a novelty. Bishop e7 was played. What you could say in this position, I mean, there is this possibility certainly. Oh, good Lord, e6 played against BRM 1965. I was going to say that queen takes d5 is a possibility because you've got this fork all the time. But it's the sort of thing where you'd say, well, castle queen side would be a sort of a very typical black way to play this, where you're saying, you know, light squared bishop gone, white extra pawn, but light squared bishop gone. Somebody on Lee Chess then played e6 in this position. But I wouldn't have thought that that was amazing for, I mean, castles was played, white won the game, but I would have thought, normally speaking, that this would not be so bad for black, you know. How did the game go? Bishop f4, f takes e6. No, it played rook c8 in this position. E takes f7, rook takes f7, bishop g3. Mwah, you know. I mean, this was one. I think this was a bullet game, wasn't it? So I think anything can happen in these. But yeah, I mean, this looks quite decent for black. I would have thought, you know, at least not losing or anything. We
have some information. Andy B says 10d5 is given as a novelty with an exclamation mark in Peralta's Thinkers Publishing book on the Vienna.
Oh, thank you, Andy B. Just goes to show. I mean, you know, in the old days, you know, the books were like 3 years. The books and the, you know, where the courses were 3 years behind everything else. But nowadays, that's you've really got to stay up to scratch with all of that. Thank you very much indeed, Andy B. So that's very interesting. So knight d5, bishop c4, and then a6. Now a6 looks very, very sensible.
And he edited it this year.
Yes. So we've got the well, there we are. We've got the inside knowledge on Thinkers Publishing. They publish a lot of opening books, and a lot of very interesting stuff in there. Actually, Thinkers Publishing they also published a set of books that I reviewed quite recently in New in Chess. There were books on two former Yugoslav players, Albin Planic and Dragoljub Velimirovic, and they were super as well. So lots of good stuff there. So in any case, a6 played by Stanley. So let's have a look what that is looking like. Again, very natural to challenge the knight on b5. We must have all sorts of ideas. I mean, the first thing that white could do is to take on d5 here. And then black's got two ideas. You could take on b5 like that. Looks in principle a little bit uncomfortable unless you've got a really good concrete way of dealing with it, because, you know, obviously you've got the pin there. But I suppose maybe what you could say is I could just take and go knight a5 here, and would this be bad for black? Interesting question. I'm never quite sure about these, because knight d4 might be a little bit awkward there.
b7's slightly in a funny
temporarily bad, and you've got the possibility maybe that you might be able to stick a knight on c6 and get it, sort of and make it count. I'm traumatized about knights on c6 in front of pawns on c7 ever since I lost to Victor Korchnoi in a game like that. And I think I did something similar against Harman Jonkman. I did. I wrote a little blog about it, I seem to remember, just sort of inspired by that. But I'm not sure. I mean, in this case, you could go rook a6 somehow. So
you don't get mated because the knight on b7 defends.
Yeah. But I mean, you've got bishop g5s or bishop e3s. It feels to me like a slightly unpleasant endgame-ish sort of thing. But I think if you don't play the endgame, then yeah, these pieces are badly played. So I mean, I do think that this would be what Black would have to do if he's going to play that line. But I would suspect that White might be a little bit better. Also, maybe bishop e3. Maybe you could try c5 then. So maybe you do have to go knight d4. Yeah, I don't know whether you could do something clever like this, and it's always whether you've got concrete specific ways to do things, but I'm not sure. I think that Black's a little bit uncomfortable here, I would have thought, unless he's got some very clear way. Because what you could also do after bishop d5 is simply take back with the pawn. And now it's the question as to whether whether this is going to turn out okay for White, or whether I mean, Andy B, if you know whether this line is in the book, so that would be
so 11 a6 is the main line, and then 12 bishop takes d5 exclams in the book.
Interesting. Let's try and work it out then. So yeah, I mean, White's got a couple of ideas here, I suppose. After he takes d5, I mean, yeah, knight d4, knight c3 is possible. There's also bishop g5, which might be interesting. Although I would tend to think that a move like bishop e7 would be fairly decent for Black here. You're developing, you're getting your king out of the way, and yeah, I would have thought that you could get your pieces sort of developed that way. So I wouldn't have thought that bishop g5 would be great unless you've got something really good there, and I don't think so. So I mean, yeah, e6 always has to be considered. I would have thought it couldn't possibly be any good somehow, but I wouldn't have thought so. So I think you're looking at knight c3, or you're looking at knight d4. And I have, I guess, probably a preference for knight c3. Knight d4 seems, I don't know. Knight d4. I mean, you could go. Yeah, queen takes looks quite decent for Black somehow, but I would have thought that knight takes might be interesting, because if you go c5 now, I could sort of hover into f5 and maybe do something dangerous. And then the question is whether you've got something concrete here somehow, something really that's causing Black a problem. Not sure, actually, not 100% sure, but maybe you can just do g6, and if here, then you come in like this somehow, these sort of ideas, but not 100% easy. Knight c3 is maybe interesting as well, because you're attacking this pawn on d5, and yeah. So I mean, what's Black going to do here? Ideally, I think Black would want to play d4, because you feel a little bit sad if you have to move a piece again, simply, and allowing White to get a knight onto d5 with this queen b3 as well. Ideas, I wouldn't thought that would be great. So maybe d4.
Andy B is saying dots c5, e6 is the problem, which I guess is in the other line. e6.
Oh, here maybe.
Yeah.
Could that be interesting?
Is that a problem?
Or there could be at various points you could have e6. Yeah. Actually, this looks very interesting, actually, doesn't it? Because cd, queen a4 check could be a bit of a killer. King e7, queen b4. Thank you, Andy B. Yeah, that's gonna be the baby, isn't it? So you're gonna have to be more cautious. Ooh. But then that's going to give White some play. So yeah, maybe knight bd4 is indeed the
poor Stanley having to work this out at the board, because this is White's prep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Pierre Laurent has now thought for lots of time now.
Yeah,
he's on 50 minutes, so maybe he doesn't actually know this line.
Yes.
It's possible. It is possible. So,
but it's funny to come up with the latest novelty over the board if you didn't know it.
Well, I mean, maybe somebody told you it. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a. I mean, he wouldn't have been expecting Stanley to play this. I mean, you never know. Stanley might be getting this from the book as well, right? So it could be that Stanley knows this better. You never know. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep track of all these things. Often somebody tells you, "Hey, D5's interesting," you know, and all that, and then you sort of know half of it, and then you say, "Well, we'll work it out at the board."
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough little one, but it's not. Yeah, this E6 idea is very, very sneaky indeed. It's kind of key somehow to making this work, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Black will have to. Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe there's some Bishop D6s. Maybe these are possible, but yeah, very, very, very complicated stuff. This. So, but White doesn't. I don't think White knows it 100%. So yeah, White. He's maybe trying to piece together his memory, or he's just he doesn't actually know this and he's having to
Pierre is a thinkers publishing author, so he may have the book.
Oh really?
He's been given the copy.
What did Pierre write for Thinkers Publishing, Andy B? That's because he's a good player. I like him. I liked his play very much last year. So be interested to know which book he's written there.
There's a question about what do you think is the game of the year? I think we should do what is the player. The English players' game of the year.
Indeed. Now, I mean, we are running at a risk because I can only answer for the ones that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, that's people will have to show us their games, won't they? If we're gonna.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of games that I've seen, then
we've got a whole bunch by juniors, which
we've got a whole bunch by juniors. I would actually have to say that the game by I've got to get this right. It was Adamjit, I think, wasn't it?
Yes. Adamjit Singh.
It's a game that we commentated on at the under 10s at the British, and I actually did a little video on it. I can actually let me just give me 2 seconds whilst I sneakily go to my channel and look at that.
Yes, and Supratit's game against Simon Williams was. Not a wild tactical game, but a very nice strategic game.
That was a very nice game indeed.
Check it out.
I'll also mention one of my big favourites, which is actually, unfortunately, there's a couple of games where Shreyas is actually the loser, but there's Michael Adams's game against him at Cambridge, which was gorgeous, and also Stuart Conquest's win against him at the British, which I thought was also. Probably maybe not deserving of Game of the Year, but I thought it was a really, Stuart. It was more for the last 2 games. Stuart beat Shreyas and then Nikita Vichagov as black in order to get into the playoff, which I thought was a huge performance from him. It's Adamjit Singh, so Saxena against Adamjit Singh was a really cool game, I have to say, and that's on my channel, which is well worth picking that one out. Let's have a look. Any other games that can really think of?
Mr. Bede says Supratit's game is his favourite from the Talented Tuesday games.
Yeah, I think that one was really gorgeous. There was also a game of that I actually looked at. Did I arrive a little bit early at Cambridge? I think I did. I arrived just a few hours earlier than you, and I got to see some games. But it was a game of Daniel Fernandez. That was absolutely brilliant, I have to say. Who was it against? It was Daniel Fernandez against, I can't remember who it was against, but an absolutely brilliant game, really, really super, that I really, really loved. Let's have a think. Other games. Problem is, I'm only I'm getting older, so
we're going to pick it off a few tournaments, but that's
yeah. But there have been a lot of really, really brilliant games. I mean, in the recent London Classic, I did love the game that in which Mickey beat Sam Shankland. I thought that was an amazing game. sacrificed a piece and then this incredible endgame. Yeah, it was really amazing. So there've been quite a few really good performances.
What about Gawain? He must have played some good ones.
Yeah, no, I've got a game of Gawain's on. I keep on thinking there's a game of Gawain I want to mention, and I can't actually think of it right now. But yeah, I mean there have been some amazing games played by the British players this year. So yeah, and as for if you were looking at the game of the year, I'd also have to highlight some engine games as well. Which are simply totally bananas. So yeah, I mean it's really. I mean we're really in quite an amazing time where you just get standard, you just get masses of amazing games simply all the time. So
okay, I'm going to tell you that our guy Pierre authored Modernized Flank Attack with Christian Bauer, which had the working title 50 Shades of G4 G5. And we've had a request to can we look at Aditya's game?
Let's do that. Yeah, Christian Bauer, another very more my generation. He's somewhat younger, I think, but very fine player. Christian Bauer, very interesting. One knight c6 guy, and anything weird, basically.
We can search with our little magnifying glass.
All right. You just want to keep Mr. Bede happy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. There you go.
There we are. Oh, good lord. Well, it's darks. Well, Aditya, actually against Danny, also gave up all the dark squares in the King's Indian, but survived beautifully. And once again, this has happened. So this is, but the big difference here is that the black dark squared bishop here is not at all active.
Okay.
So so this is in general, yeah. Whoa, I'm trying to say in general. In general, I think white stands quite well here. I would have thought, but I would have thought that it would be a game that would last 150 moves. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I was, I mean, white is not going to do anything on the king side at all. Oh, knight g3 is a bit funny. White's not going to be able to achieve anything on the king side. I would say, but if anything's going to happen, it's going to be on the queen side. I would have said, to be honest, that I would be looking to somehow try and move the white king over to the king side, and then somehow work out how to advance my queen side pawns. Yeah, I would think that would take 150 moves. Knight g3 feels a bit odd. I would have thought knight e3, to be honest, that would have been my go-to move. The knight covers lots of different things, and I sort of feel that would be the best thing. I mean, I would also be maybe thinking about trying to get the bishop round to a4, and then putting the pawn to b3, and just sort of consolidating, trying to consolidate like that as well. I mean, the one thing that black does have, and that might be an idea, though it is quite double-edged, would be to play the move c6, and to somehow try and reroute the bishop somehow towards the queen side. But the problem with c6 is that white gets the possibility maybe to take and then put a knight on d5, but on the other hand, black also gets the possibility to put a knight on e6 to d4. So there's a lot of very double-edged things there. But I mean, my go-to feeling would be put the knight on e3, try, if you can, if necessary, with support from the queen, to get the bishop onto a4, maybe play b3 just to cement it there. Then try and get the king somehow somewhere to safety on the king side, and then try and slowly advance. The one thing that you could say for black is that black might have an idea of maybe trying to grab this h pawn, and then afterwards, slowly trying to make some counterplay. But I mean, both plans feel like they'll take about 150 years to execute now. So. But it's it's quite funny somehow that Aditya's ended up with two of those games where where basically black's got all the dark squares in the King's Indian.
Yeah.
But this one's very very murky indeed. This one.
Kevin, good point. Shout out to Carl Portman for his MBE.
Yes, indeed, MBE. Well done, Carl.
It's really great. Yeah, and he's been working for so many years actually doing doing work in prisons. We went on a visit. Actually, not with Carl, did we? We went on a visit.
Yeah, I mean,
arranged originally by Carl. I can't remember, but but he's doing work all around the country. And it makes just such a difference to people. And when we went there, everyone was just so thrilled to see us.
I think I mean, he was a real pioneer for chess in prisons, and I mean, a lot of other people are now doing a lot of work on that as well. And but I mean, Carl is the real pioneer in that. Wrote a book for quality chess.
Chess Behind Bars. No, he's written two, hasn't he? He's written.
He's written
Chess
another
Behind
one.
Bars was the classic.
Yeah, was the classic, and
you just read some of the testimonials from people that have been touched by that work, and you can just see what a huge impact it's making. So so
we went together and to Wandsworth Prison to give a game changer talk and a simul, and I mean, you could see that I mean, prisons are frightening places, and it definitely made a difference. We felt, and we were it was a very unusual experience, but just incredible. But it's there's really somebody who was there at the start of it, and that's Carl. So very, very happy to see him getting that, and a big shout out to his wife as well, who's been battling with health issues for a while, but still in there fighting. It's just a very just two people who really think are quite wonderful somehow. So beautiful to see them getting recognition there. And we gave a simul, didn't we, in Banbury?
Banbury, and that was really nice as well.
Sponsored by Carl's wife, and organised to the smallest details by Carl. And it was a really lovely venue, really lovely place, and really lovely event. So wonderful to hear recognition for their work, and
and that should also help promote if like other people are getting involved in this work, because it takes a lot of time and effort, and there isn't huge amounts of funding for it. So sort of individuals can make a big difference there, and I think by this MBE, then it can hopefully pave the way for others as well to
indeed.
Yeah, and we should point you to the It's Your Move podcast.
Indeed.
From a few weeks ago, which is on the ECF YouTube site, where Carl is talking a bit more about his work, and I watched that, and I thought that was very inspirational, and it's well worth a watch. So please do check it out. Now, Kevin also says, let's have a look at Alan Byron against Badana. So this, I guess, a battle.
Okay, sorry. We've got. Let's use the.
We know how to do this now.
The beads magnifying glass. So let's have a look. Badana against Alan Byron. So let's have a look at the opening just to see what Badana did here. So E4, Caracan, very popular. I mean, both at the elite level and also at a club level nowadays. There's been a lot of courses on it. But Alan, I'm sure he must be a long time Caracan player, because he's not playing the trendy knight f6 line, but playing the good old fashioned bishop f5 line, which is also still very good, very tough.
Well, maybe that's the thing, right, for senior players to try out all the old lines against.
Indeed, exactly. No, it's now Badana's done something interesting here, actually. So bishop g6. This is the standard thing, h4, h6. But the big question is, do you play h5, bishop h7, and then bishop d3, or do you leave the pawn on h4? And
I just saw something interesting there when you put those moves in. The top player for white playing this was Judith Polgar.
Oh, there we are, Judith Polgar. I mean, there's millions of games there with this line. It's a really, really popular line. So. Loads and loads of players have played this. So knight f3 is quite interesting. It's Black's got the possibility to play e6, which is Quite an interesting line there. Knight e5, bishop h7, bishop d3, also very solid. Played by Magnus Carlsen against Vishy Anand in the first black game of their first World Championship match, which was a very clever sidestep by Magnus, because afterwards he never played the Caro-Kann again in this match. So it was just meant to waste time for Vishy's team. Very clever idea. So knight f3, knight d7. And now, once again, h5, by far the most popular move here. I mean, basically, you get this position, and then you have to decide, is it worth my while having pinned down the black pawn structure, or do I want to have maybe the possibility later of bringing a knight into h5 to attacking g7? So that's the one that Badana's gone for, bishop d3. And there's, as I said, top players have tried both. So queen takes d3. And I'm pretty sure that that Gawain actually recommended a line like this.
Okay.
With interesting things. So anyway, knight gf6 played by black. And now, yeah, I mean, the normal way that the white plays is to go bishop d2 and castle's king side, castle's queen side. Badana's gone for something more solid, gone for c3, e6, and then played the queen to e2. Bishop e7 and castles, and after castles played the knight to e5. So yeah, I mean, just white's just shuffled a bit, played the knight to queen to e2, knight to e5, just to get out of any possible plans there. Rook e8, rook e1, bishop f8, queen f3, and yeah, I mean, white's just got a little edge, but black's got. This is kind of what black expects from this line of the Caro-Kann. So black wouldn't be too upset about it either. It's one of those things where I'm pretty sure that Badana's quite happy with a space advantage, and and a little bit of the starts maybe of a bind, and black's thinking, well, I've got my standard Caro-Kann set up. We do notice.
I can't imagine Badana playing the Alien Gambit. The chat is talking about the Alien Gambit by Witty Alien. Where you do a dubious knight takes f7 that scores well in blitz.
Okay.
Bulgarian chess content creator, entertaining streams, infectious positivity, and risky gambits.
I don't know the Alien Gambit at all, but it's just knight f7 on virtually any moment, isn't it? Okay.
I think you do it all the time. Yeah.
Oh, there was a player like that, wasn't there, at the English Blitz who kept
on
playing knight f7 and knight f2 all the time.
His name. Yeah.
No, it's indeed. So well, Alan has thought for a very long time here and played the move c5.
Okay.
So this is an intriguing little move. I mean, I would have expected queen b6 maybe, queen c7, a5, all sorts of sort of non-committal moves really, but he's decided to go for c5. So that is quite interesting. So what is the idea here?
Maybe he just wants to exchange on.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a pawn sacrifice. That's the interesting part to it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm wondering quite how this goes, because I take on there now. Normally, I suspect you'd want to take on d4 really, and then say c takes d4. I've given you an isolated pawn, and then maybe something with counterplay. I'm not sure what, queen a5 or. Maybe knight takes c5. You could imagine maybe something like this if you calculated it well, and queen h4, something like that. I'm not sure. But the point is that I could just take, and then go knight c6 in this position.
Ooh.
And the point is then that you're going to have to exchange off queens there. There's nothing you can do, because I mean, if knight c5, for example, I've got knight d8, and then I'm winning a piece there. So you're going to have to swap off the queens, and that also enables me to keep my pawn structure together.
Yes.
And then I've actually just won a pawn. Yes. I mean, it's black's always got a bit of compensation, because it's the sort of the Benko style stuff, right? I mean, you've got open files against these two pawns. It's not a trivial win for white, but it is just simply it's a pawn simply. Now the only thing that maybe white I mean, if you go rook b8, I'll go queen f3, and I've still got knight c6. So, you know, I don't think that there's anything there. The only other thing I could think of would be if you took there, I take on e5, and then you played this move knight g4, you know, to or you thought of something to try and target the pawn on h4.
Yeah.
You've got two possibilities. I mean, you could go knight d5 and then say I'm shutting off the queen, and then I'm doing that. But I guess there that I wouldn't have thought this would be amazing for black. Oh well, maybe I'm not sure. Well, we can have a look. Or knight g4. Knight g4. Would that be interesting? Knight g4. It's definitely. It's not totally bananas. It feels like it's not really going to work, but it's not totally bananas. I mean, how do you defend this pawn on h4?
Yeah.
Actually, is
you
can't
push
particularly
it to h5, but then queen h4 comes in and threatening to come in.
The question is whether you've got I mean, what you'd really want, you'd want these two pawns to be removed from the board, because then you'd have bishop c5.
Yeah.
But if you can't achieve that, then because you're not really threatening anything there, there's no real threat, you know. So it just makes you wonder whether white might be able to go, you know, a queen f3 and threaten rook e4 or something. You know? It feels like it's not really going to work. This, but it's not a silly idea. The other idea could be knight d5, where you say I'm going to switch. I'm just sort of you know, not letting the queen come back, and then I'm going to, if you were to play a move like h5, I might play. Got to think of something, maybe c4 or something, and you know, you stop the queen from coming back and try and develop some counterplay. I don't know. It's quite speculative somehow, yeah. But I would be betting, normally speaking, that black's probably missed this move knight c6. You know, and was kind of maybe looking for an idea like this, but thinking that you'd have bishop c5 in as well. You know, which could be quite dangerous. That sort of thing. But I think that just queen b7 is quite decent.
We'll see if she takes it.
We'll see whether banana, what banana does in this position. Let's have a look.
Danny Gormally and Stevie Gordon.
Oh yeah, I saw that one indeed. So this is a Mar del Plata. No, not a b4. Well, Mar del Plata variation. Is this Mar del Plata? I think they call it, though. I think 91 is the actual Mar del Plata, named after an Argentinian town where this variation was played for the first time in the 1950s. This is the bayonet variation. Bayonet attack with b4. And yeah, I mean, this was really well. This was known before. But it was really Vladimir Kramnik who introduced many new ideas in this line, based around you know, the idea that if black plays knight I think it was knight h5 and then rook e1 was the big novelty somehow, with the idea that you would keep the knight on f3 and try and hit f5 with knight g5. Whoops, knight g5 and then into e6. Lots and lots of ideas with that. A5.
Lots of games from Mar del Plata. I remember it from Bobby Fischer and my 60 memorable games. There were stacks of, or at least one anyway, Mar del Plata.
Now there's this A5 just tries to basically you're saying you're going to have to weaken your queen side because this is impossible.
Yeah.
So there's many ways of playing. I think bishop a3 was also played as well, but this is very common. You play a4 and then you can try and play bishop a3 b4 and then a5 and c5. You know, it's all sorts of stuff. Knight d2 has been is apparently the main move here. Looks a little slow somehow. I always feel knight d2 to b3 is very slow, but it seems to be one of the top things, although the games are quite old there somehow.
Hi, J.K. Hodgson. I'm assuming it's Jeremy. Are you Jeremy or Julie?
Jeremy.
Oh. Loving the commentary. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Enjoy with your feet up and watching the stream.
Indeed. So c5 played by black. So black trying to close the queen side there, and then Stevie Gordon took on c6. We got this very you don't see this structure very often, I have to say, in the King's Indian. You know, normally it's black attacking on the king's side, white attacking on the queen's side. But here, black sort of going for a sort of kind of a Kalashnikov sort of setup, where you've got this pawn on e5 that gives you a square on d4. Against this sort of Maroczy-Bind kind of structure, but black's got some very weak pawns on d6 and b6, so it's quite risky strategically, certainly for black. But black's got counterplay against these things, and of course, if white puts something on d5, then you're no longer attacking the pawn on d6, and some sort of exchange on d5 might be possible. But it's really I always find these positions very difficult to judge. It's rook d1, queen b8, and now white's got to decide what you're going to do. I mean, knight b5 is the by far the most obvious, of course, just piling into the d6 square. Notice that Danny's playing quite fast here. And Stevie Gordon, I think he's generally a little bit takes more time somehow, Stevie. So it's not too unusual. But knight b5.
We were trying to remember the other day, I think, whether Danny had ever won Hastings. He messaged me and said actually he has won it.
Oh, right.
Joint with about 5 people. So he was
okay. Apologies, Danny. That's
we couldn't quite remember. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I guess Stephen hasn't, because he hasn't been playing for a little while. Or I probably remember this.
But have a look. There's a Wikipedia page where all of the Hastings winners are noted. So we can have a little look there.
Have a look.
Yeah, actually, knight b5. So what would be happening after knight b5? I guess that knight c5. This is the normal reaction, and well, Stevie's protected the pawn on e4 now with the queen, but now the pawn on a4. It's a little bit like squashing jelly, really, for this. So then we have to have a look to see, is that sufficient? I mean, if knight d6, then knight a4 looks decent for black, I have to say. That looks got some irritating little threats here, and obviously if you take on c5 here. Then d takes c5, and the knight's coming into d4. So this is looking quite good. The only thing that sort of looks vaguely confusing, maybe, would be rook d6. But I guess there that black would simply take and play knight d4 here, which is could be rather irritating. Knight d4 allows queen d6, of course, and bishop d4, ed. Well, we've got those dark squares again. d3 might be a threat. In general, you sort of feel that that black's going to have very good compensation here. There's even the funny little idea of bishop e5, and then when the rook moves, we take on h2. Ooh. And this rook could easily get trapped. So that actually looks. So knight b5 doesn't look like that's going to cause black any problems. So that's quite friendly. That's definitely friendly, and black's next move is going to be knight c5 here, and maybe looking simply to take off and play knight d4. So quite, it's not clear at all. Looks like it's really a question of tactics. Does black have enough to hold to hold these pawns to keep white at bay? And if he does, then he's got decent chances somehow. So Stevie definitely needs to have an idea for a plan here, to keep all his pieces together, and then also be able to do something positive as well. I'm not quite sure what that plan would be somehow so far. I mean, I could go knight d5 as well, of course, but probably just knight c5 from black here, and you're eyeing this pawn on a4, which is. Looks quite comfortable for black. I mean, I can't see anything that would particularly. If knight c5, you'd probably just take with a pawn like that, and then you've got a good square on d4, and it's not. Maybe could white. We've got to watch out for these things. I mean, if takes, you could maybe go knight c7 here and then take here. That would be interesting. But maybe we just go rook b8.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, maybe you could try and move the pawn to a5, but I would always assume that black's doing okay, but you never know, I suppose. A5 here. Is this any danger at all? I'm trying to kind of talk this up somehow, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. God, these are just difficult positions somehow. Always so hard to know whether anything is good at all in chess. At some stages, you've just got to do it and then hope to find out. I would have thought that black would be fine, but not 100% clear. Rook a2 played though by Stevie, so he's oh, that's an interesting move as well. I'm wondering whether what's the idea here? I mean, I think he's definitely got some ideas of rook b2. That's what he's kind of thinking of, or maybe even rook d2 as well. Maybe knight c5. What would he do there after knight c5? Maybe take here. Maybe go for something like this. I mean, it might be sort of thinking about could also. I mean, if you rook b2 is maybe quite interesting, because if you go knight b4, you've dragged the knight away from d4. So then you might just come back and hit the pawn on d6 and try and get that one. You know, that might be the idea. Might get some exchanges of some of those weak pawns, but maybe, you know, who knows? Maybe white might emerge with a small edge. I'm not sure.
Now, Richard Archer's had been thinking that this game would be a quick draw between these players.
Yeah,
it looks like they're playing.
No, they're definitely playing. This is definitely a complicated position. Lots of thinking going on. So yeah, not bad. Should we have a little look at Frankie? Oh, what's happened here? So
Stanley,
Stanley, sorry, Frankie's his brother. So Bishop d5 was not played by Pierre. He played knight bd4, which to me feels less punchy, somehow. So Stanley played knight b6, quite a common idea there, just to hit the bishop, uncover the line of the bishop like that. So white played bishop e2, and then Frankie played bishop e7. Yeah, I mean, well, it's got that pawn on c7 to attack, but the black pieces look fairly active. So knight c6, queen d1 played. Rook d1, bishop c6, knight d4, bishop b7. Interesting. I mean, again, white. If white can manage to get a knight onto c6, supported by the pieces, then that's a wonderful thing. And I'm pretty sure that's what Pierre is aiming for. But he is some moves away from achieving that. So it's going to be quite. I think it's quite a crucial battle now. It's there's going to be a big battle for the soul of the position, you could say, and what actually happens there, that'll emerge. It reminds me a lot of my game with Korchnoi, where I lost attention for just one move, and before I knew it, the knight was on c6. And Victor was looking at me with thoughts of revenge in his. I'd beaten him in the first. It was a double round thing, so I'd beaten him very nicely with white in the first game, and he was desperately out for revenge. It's
Kevin Winter. Who is stronger, Frankie or Stanley?
Oh, good Lord, we're not getting into that one.
We're not going there. You can hear Frankie's answer on the issue on his Talented Tuesdays interview. He did answer exactly that question.
So, I mean, to be honest, I mean, black's sort of kind of dilemma is how to get both of those pieces active, because they both sort of look at the d5 square and think, "Oh, I'd like to be there," and that's not, it's not that's never a good sign for black. And of course, I think what you do also need, the light squared bishop defending the light squares on the queen side, because those are sort of exposed by the pawn on c7. So the big move I would be thinking of, to be honest, would be the move a5. That would be
asking for bishop d5 and then c6.
Ooh, yeah, it's possible. Ooh. That's quite a decision somehow.
Create a bastion, as Hikaru would say.
Create a bastion. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that it's just a big target somehow. That's what I'm, and that black's other pieces don't fit well around that. I'm not thoroughly confident enough to say that, but that would not be a plan that I would look at. I'd be looking more to try and put the bishop on d5 and maybe pin the pawn down, go a5, a4 at least, not have that pawn pinned down by a knight on a5. I could be wrong though, so I'm always willing to admit that, so no worries about that. But this would be, I would be thinking more about playing a5, and then, you know, if you went bishop d2, I'd play a4, and then bishop d5, and then I'm attacking this little guy somehow. And if you go a3, then I'd hope that I'd somehow get better counterplay against the pawn on b2. You know, that would be my goal somehow. I'm not sure about it. The problem with, of course, with playing a5 is that you can get hit by bishop b5s as well. So for example, I could go bishop d2, a4, knight a5, bishop d5, and bishop b5 check, which might be quite awkward. So yeah, it's a tricky old position. I remember, again, it's quite a similar scenario to what happened with me against Victor, and I remember thinking that I had it all covered, but somehow something just squeezed out, and I just ended up getting squashed somehow. So yeah, quite. I didn't really think this plan was too dangerous for black, but looking at it more, I'm thinking, well, there's definitely a challenge in there to be sorted out. Bishop d5, c6. I don't like that at all, I have to say. Probably find that it's the engine's preference as well. It feels weird, bishop d5 and c6. But I'm not sure. I don't have a good suggestion at the moment, I have to say. I mean, yeah, bishop c6 to b5 is also a possibility, but again, a little bit dodgy. The knight will definitely get onto, you know, something like this somehow, but the bishop would get to f3 or even takes, and the knight gets to c6. So that's not really that great. I mean, I could consider a5, bishop d2, and then bishop b4 maybe. But again, these moves with bishop b5 are always a little bit worrying. They certainly have to be calculated.
Question from Mikhail Tal: If there's a weakness, but the player has enough pieces to defend it, why is it a big deal?
Well, the problem with a weakness is not necessarily that you can just go in and grab it. It's that you need to, because I mean that's a scenario that occurs sometimes, but not so often. But the point is, if you've got a weakness on one side, then you need to keep some pieces there to keep a hold of it, and that will give the opponent maybe a chance to do something on the other side. You know, if you're tied down to a weaknesses, your pieces can get easily stretched. You know. The one who's attacking the weaknesses can move easier from side to side.
They've got more choice, haven't they? Because if you're attacking, you can decide which to attack. But when you're defending, if someone's attacking you, you have to you get a bit tied up there, and you've got less choice of what to play and how to turn the course of the game.
Exactly. I mean, in the end game, it's especially clear, and you know, there's something that's called the principle of two weaknesses. That you know, you create a weakness on one side that ties down some pieces, then you create a weakness on the other side, and then you end up switching between the two until, you know, the defender becomes so stretched that something gives. You know, and I just saw today, actually, I saw a wonderful game by Peter Liko against Mikhail Gurievich, very strong Russian player, ex-Russian player, now Belgian. And I mean, it was a French where, you know, White opened a little line there, then got a pass pawn that was tying down a knight, and then he ended up pushing forward all his kingside pawns, threatening some breaks on there. And in the end, Black said, "Oh, I can deal with one of those threats, a break on the king side or the pass pawn pushing, but I can't deal with both." You know, and so yeah, this is the kind of the problem somehow, that you either clamp down on the weakness or tie, you know, Black's pieces to defending it, and then afterwards you'll start doing stuff on another wing somehow. It's not trivial there. It's really it requires quite very good technique to do that sort of stuff. But I was very impressed. I mean, actually, we mentioned that game of Adamjeet's before, you know, and that was an example of that principle of two weaknesses, because he sort of, you know, tied white down on one side and then moved to the other somehow, and he was, you know, explaining in his in his lovely way, you know, how he was doing that to stretch black on both flanks. It was really impressive, you know, very impressive to hear somebody so young describing all that. I only learned that much later somehow, I have to say. Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah. Do we get to the current? Yeah. Shall we see Simon Williams against? I think was he playing Oleg today?
Yes. Let's have a little look at that one. So yeah, so Oleg played a sort of so Simon played knight c6, bishop c4. Then Simon played d6 against the Italian game, which is not a normal move. It has to be said. So it'd be interesting to know what Simon had planned there. Knowing him, it's probably something with with g5, g4, or something like that. But Oleg played the move knight c3, and then I think Simon took a leaf out of Chandra Sandipan's book by playing the move knight a5. Now, why am I saying that?
Black maybe was planning to play f5.
I think Simon was probably something with f5 was also in the thing. But the reason I'm mentioning the Indian Grandmaster Chandra Sandipan is that in the recent World, it was World Rapid actually, against Pragananda. In this position, Sandipan played knight a5.
Okay.
Which he'd also played against Sindarov before in 2023, and he won a great game. The idea was takes, and then d5, and just going for general compensation. He was probably lost in actual fact, but he somehow it was such a wild game that he made it and eventually won. But I was really impressed with this idea. I was very impressed with Sandipan all round. He was coming up with all sorts of wild and wonderful ideas. But this is quite. I'm sure it's at least partially inspired by that. Although it has been played, 4 times by pretty decent players. So Oleg played bishop e2, and now Black plays the move c5.
Okay.
And I mean, Simon's a big English player and a big Botvinnik system English player, and he's got his structure somehow there. Yeah. So it's quite funny, quite a funny little line there. So Oleg played d3, but now his bishop on e2's a little bit passive. Bishop e7, knight d5, knight f6. In principle, Black isn't too upset about losing that dark squared bishop because he's got all his central pawns on dark squares. So, you know, it's his bad bishop, you know, in a certain way. So Oleg, knight c6 was played. So Oleg played.
This appears to be called the Italian game Paris defense.
The Paris defense, yeah. No, Lichess is always coming up with these wild and wonderful names. And Oleg decided not to take the bishop pair, which surprises me slightly in a way, but decided to take the knight there. But now actually, I mean, Black just ends up with just kind of a nice little system, and Oleg played it a little bit slowly maybe, and basically in this position you'd say that Black has basically got the white pieces, you'd say now, you know, because you've got more space and Black's got a sort of a Philidor-ish restrained setup there. So actually, some original opening play from Simon, and that's kind of worked in terms of what he's achieved there. He's got a space advantage and basically a bit of a grip on the position. Not terrible at all. So you know, it's probably only a slight edge for Black, but yeah, I mean, you'll settle for that from the opening nowadays. My goodness. So I mean, in general, you'd say that Black is going to, you know, try and play rook d8 and try and gradually get a little bit more space. You know, you've got to keep a grip of possible breaks from white. You know, d4 certainly, and f4, and you'd be looking normally to maybe move this bishop back and play f5 at some stage and just come forwards. Got to be a little bit careful. It's always easy to get caught out. I mean, for example, if I played a move like g6 here, then knight g4 followed by bishop g5 could be a little bit irritating. So got to be very careful about stuff like that. It's not easy somehow, but slowly does it, basically, and you just and yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got to see whether you can try and expand on the queen side as well. It's going to take quite a bit of patience, this sort of thing. But yeah, eventually you should. Black does have a slight edge in this position.
So it's going to depend on people's plans for the evening, because it is New Year's Eve after all.
I would have thought that Simon would have more plans than Oleg, to be honest.
Yes.
But who knows? Who knows?
Respect to these players, though. They've got to play 2 rounds tomorrow, so they've got
I think it's
10 a.m. haven't they? And
I'm not lying here. It's really true. It's 10:15.
At 10:15. They get 15 minutes. Oh, but that's only 15-minute stream delay, isn't it? I mean, it's still 10 a.m.
Yes, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock on New Year's Day, and then you've got a second round in the afternoon.
That's a bit. That's tough. That'll curtail the partying a little bit, I would say. We used to always go in Hastings. There was a pub, the Pig in Paradise. We used to spend New Year's Eve there. Every year. That was the traditional place to go. I don't know if it's even still there or what people do at Hastings anymore.
Yeah, no, don't know at all. It's but yeah, no, it's really it's a bit of a toughie for the players, that one, definitely, and for the arbiters as well. Let's not forget. They need to. I mean, they'll need to be there earlier. I mean, the players only need to turn up at 10 to play, but the arbiters will need to be there, setting it up, making sure all the live boards are good and everything. I mean, my goodness.
I'm afraid we're not going to be commentating, though.
We're
not till the afternoon, not in the morning.
We're not planning to be commentating. We're out of respect for the players.
Yeah. To allow them to make any kind of mistakes they want to make on New Year's morning without us looking in on it at all.
Indeed. So yeah, no, interesting. I'm just looking at board 3 here. There's a little bit of an attack teeing up here. We've got Samuel Timotai Gimpu from Romania against Bennett Hagner. This is, I mean, White's, when you play a Trompowsky like this, and when you end up with the situation that the Whites ended up in, you're going to be quite happy somehow. It's Bishop b7 played, Bishop b5 check just to annoy Black. You're pretty sure that Black will play c5 later anyway, but this is just to cause him a little bit of irritation, and also maybe to threaten e4 at some stage. Bishop e7 played, knight e5, and now knight bd7. Knight fd7 would normally be a vaguely interesting move for Black, because you're trying to make sure that you really will exchange off a set of minor pieces, But the one thing you've got to watch out for here, I don't know whether it's a thing or not. I mean, there's knight f7s and knight g6s and bishop g6s and queen h5s here. I don't know whether that's.
Oh, you think even right in this position it might be?
Well, yeah. I mean, because it's probably not going to work, is it? It's not as far away as you might think. I mean, there's stuff, you're sort of saying, oh, I could do this, and then after here I've got a fork. But of course you'd have knight takes e5 in this position. I could have knight takes f7, king f7, but it's not really doesn't look like it's going to be too crazy. Probably it's nothing at all. This one looks fun somehow, but probably you'll probably just end up getting your knight trapped.
You might do that.
100% easy, but you might, and this is not really not really very clear at all. So probably nothing at all. But it looks risky. But Black played knight bd7, and then White played f4. And the nice thing about having inserted this c6 move is that Black doesn't actually have takes and knight e4, because the bishop is actually no longer protecting this knight. So you could actually just take like this and go knight e4, and yeah, you're getting into d6 now, you know. So it's actually quite a nice. It's turned out to be quite a nice subtlety, this. So c5, c3 was played, yeah, I mean, you've still got to watch out with doing anything like this, because you could have a little check here that would force the king to move, because queen d7, bishop b5 would be annoying. So castles played, castles, and now, yeah, now black could have considered playing takes here, takes and knight e4. This would be the normal go-to thing that you'd want to do. The only problem with that is that you definitely do have to look at this type of stuff. And think about whether that that e4 pawn is going to go or not.
Looks hard to save.
It's not easy to save, indeed. I mean, you could do a thing like queen g5, which, you know, makes it kind of harder to hit there. But now there's stuff like, after preparation, knight c4 into d6. Very hard to judge these positions. I find them very difficult to be sure about. I mean, black took on d4, e takes d4. And in general, I would have thought that this would be kind of helping white somehow. But I'm not sure. I mean, maybe black can think of just playing the move knight e4. That's also kind of interesting. And now if you take on e7, I'll take on e7. And yeah, knight e4, d takes e4. I can maybe go take an f6 later. It's probably going to be okay for black, I suppose. It's these quite you've got to be careful. There's always all sorts of caveats and possibilities and stuff like that in these positions, and you don't want to end up with a bad bishop against a good knight, basically, you know. And so it's definitely tricky, but white spent an awful lot of time. My goodness, just 24 minutes left. So he's definitely making it up as well as he goes along there.
Should we look at board 5, Balaji?
Yeah, this has been a very interesting opening from black. So d4, d5, c4, and then c5.
Oh.
Actually, in some ways, a rather strange opening to play against, because Sarunas is 200 points higher than Aravamudan, and well, this does have quite high drawing tendencies. This opening, you know, obviously, you know, you're going to be swapping off. You're quite likely to swap off all of the pawns here somehow. So yeah, it's quite.
Mind you, Aravamudan's been playing well, hasn't he? Maybe
absolutely.
Black against him isn't actually just not a nice pairing, and you wouldn't mind to draw so much.
Indeed. But just from the rating point of view, you know, obviously,
no,
it's,
what you mean.
But so c takes d5 played, and then there's two ideas. I mean, queen takes d5 is played a fair amount, certainly in Blitz, and there's a book on this. What's it called? The Double Queen's Gambit, I think. It's by Sergei Beshukov. And quite an interesting book, and there are plenty of traps you know, that white has to avoid. In general, this should be a little bit better for white playing it this way, but it's not so clear somehow. Bishop g2, you play bishop b4 and try and take this to give the queen a safe spot on c7. But Sarunas played knight f6, which in the old theory is supposed to be not very good at all. Because the refutation was e4, takes, and then knight c3, and e6 is met by b4. That was the good old style refutation back in the 90s. Presumably, theory has moved on a little bit from there. D takes c5 is also possible. I think e6 is what they're doing after there, with the idea that if you take there, we'll take there. Yeah, d6 looks strong, but it's not that strong, because you can just go queen a5 to start with, and then grab that pawn, and then this one will go. So there's all sorts of ideas. I think knight f3 is the sober way to do it as well. But white played knight c3, and then Sarunas played knight d5, and we get some sort of semi-Tarrasch actually. I mean, if you play d6, we're back into the main line semi-Tarrasch. But black actually took the opportunity to go to egg it up just a little bit more and play takes an e5, which is quite interesting.
Now, can you go d5 then?
Yeah, d5 is possible. But I think that black would probably play bishop c5 and then go for a quick castles and f5. Could be quite dangerous. Knight f3 is another idea, but this wouldn't be very much for white. D takes e5 is quite interesting, and a bit surprised again. I was thinking maybe that probably most likely black's idea was to play this endgame and just claim a little bit of an edge, but black went for something rather more exciting. He played bishop b4 check, bishop d2, and now queen d4. Very nice move.
Threatening bishop d2.
Threatening bishop d2 and then queen a1, and also threatening queen e4. So yeah, suddenly it's the board is on fire. So Aramudan played rook c1 here,
threatening on c8.
Threatening rook c8, maybe also a little rook c4. Black played knight c6, and now Aramudan didn't play rook c4. He played knight f3. Sarunas took on e4. Bishop e2, and now I mean this is black's challenge really to see, can I keep the attack sort of going? Can I keep the initiative going? What he played was bishop e6, stopping rook c4 and also eyeing this pawn on a2. So white played castles, and now I mean there's a wide number of moves here for black. I mean castle queenside is possible, although you'd think twice about doing it when the rook's, when the knight's in front of the king. Rook d8 looks, quite sensible as well. Bishop a2 looks a little bit on the banana side. It must be said. You'd have thought that can't possibly go well, although I can't see an immediate refutation.
Queen a4.
Queen a4 looks like it would be vaguely strong. I was just wondering about. No, rook c6 will be too strong most likely. So yeah, that's probably e2 is hanging. I'm not sure. Because but I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I would say that castles kingside is also definitely a possibility. But bishop d2 was played by Sarunas, which surprises me a little bit. And then queen d2 castles. But okay, I mean, White's got the challenge here somehow. There's the pawn on e5, which is a little bit loose, and there's also the pawn on a2, and the queen on e4 is quite nicely placed. It could go over to a4 and then attack the pawn on a2, and of course you can't put anything on c4 because the bishop and the queen are covering it. So and black's got the possibility of playing a rook to d8, gaining a tempo. So yeah, a little bit. Black is for choice in this position, definitely. I think this e pawn's a little bit weaker somehow.
Queen b2
is by far the most natural move. I think just getting out of the attack, attacking the pawn on b7, covering e5, and then asking black what do you want to do here. I mean, queen b7, the bishop on e2 would be loose, but then the knight on c6 would disappear. Yeah, I'm trying to work out whether this sort of a scenario would be interesting for black. I mean, it might be with the pawn ready to run. So it could well be that queen b7 is not a huge threat at the moment. But on the other hand, you've got to decide, what would black do in the meantime. Queen b4 is vaguely interesting. The idea would be that you get the knight to attack there. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know whether. I mean, black's got a couple of tempi, you'd say, a couple of moves to do something interesting. But it's really hard to be sure what on earth that interesting thing should be. It's really not so clear. I mean, I think in general. I'd probably like to end up with this pawn somewhere safe and this knight on a good outpost. I mean, if I could play the pawn to b6 and move this knight to c5, you know, that would be amazing. You know, one wonderful outpost for the knight, nice and stable and solid, and your pieces can play around it. That would be great, but that's going to take a long time to get there. I mean, b6 is a possible move. That knight feels very loose there, though. It really does. And you're going to start thinking about moves like, you know, knight g5 somehow. Though you might be able to get away with queen takes c5 there, because you're hitting the knight and hitting the queen as well. The question is with those whether something like this, are you liquidating too much with black, or are you, or has white just missed the win of a pawn? Always very tricky, you know, playing these positions and just judging it right, keeping your chances without doing anything too stupid somehow. Yeah, I mean, b6 is kind of interesting, but you'd have to be sure you've got a good reply against rook e1 there, you know, for example. Not easy to find the right way here for white. I mean, these were easily positions when, you know, when I was playing professionally. You'd easily burn half an hour here trying to work out which was the best way of playing to give yourself the most chances without ruining anything completely. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So quite intrigued, but I think queen b2 is quite a, you know, an obvious and good way to start for white, and just look at a pressure point, sidestep out of the way a little bit, and then just wait to see what black comes up with. You know, that seems like a pretty good start to me.
Shall we look at another battle of generations? Board 36.
Oh, good lord. Oh yeah,
against
Rukaya against Raza. So what have we got here? Was this an Archangel? Yeah, this was an Archangel Rai Lopez.
So Raza, I think she's a local Hastings player, so I think she's either goes to Hastings Chess Club, or anyway, she's from that area. So
okay,
she'll be the local, and Rukaya's junior player.
So it's not quite an Archangel, but when you put the bishop on c5, and then it later drops back to b6, I always think of that as an Archangel setup in the Rai Lopez. Yeah, it's a bit of a mixture. The bishop's actually quite active there. You know, looks at f2. That's very nice. On the other hand, it's a bit missing from the king's side. So you know, it doesn't. You've got to watch out about possible pins. That's why black plays the move h6 there. So looking at the current situation, what have we got here? Lots of pieces have been exchanged. Yeah, I suppose that white would be a little bit better here, really. There's, with all the pieces being exchanged, there's not much happening on the king side, really. You know, black can get f5 going, but it's not quite clear what that does. And on the queen side, white maybe has a few little chances to yeah, at least to get control of the A file and maybe do a little bit there. Although it's not really clear what white could achieve with that. You know, I would have thought that white's maybe got a tiny little edge somehow, but nothing amazing.
Sure.
So the game very much in the balance there.
Yes. Okay, we'll be winding up quite soon. So should we just put back in on some of the ones we saw?
Yeah, let's have a look at Stanley. Well, Stanley has. I mean, you were all right. He's played his. He's played bishop.
D4 he's done it. C6. He's done bishop d5 and c6.
So there we are. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that move. I'm not sure at all. But I didn't. There was nothing at all obvious to me. So yeah, I can't really say very much about it. I can't, you know, say anything about it. It's just yeah, not the move I would have played normally. So what Pierre is doing there is after knight e5.
Watches Hikaru, says Chess Lover.
Could be playing f. Well, I mean, actually, so knight d4 is played looking to grab that pawn. I think the idea must be that if knight e5, white will play f4, chase the knight away, and then take that. In general, that's not a bad deal, you would have thought, for black. You know, getting a central pawn for his sickly c pawn. The only problem is that the resulting activity that white has is quite large somehow. The only thing I do wonder about is whether black could play the move c5 in this position.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
But what we might have then is the move knight f5.
Okay.
Throwing the position into confusion. Going for a slight French accent there in honor of our of the white player. Not clear, that one. I mean,
you could take it.
I take it rook d5. I'm a bit nervous.
G4.
Knight g4. I'm a little nervous about this.
Yeah.
I have to say. I don't know whether I'm going to emerge with all my pawns. You know, after this, I'm sure I'm going to be losing a pawn somewhere.
Yes.
But I think what I'm actually wondering is whether I could play the move knight d7. Just with the idea that I'd love to force you to do this, because this is you know, a dream for black.
Why is it a dream? This. Just, is that, you mean black's better?
Well, I've managed to exchange off lots of pieces and trade my weak c pawn for the e pawn, so you know that it should be perfectly fine. But I suppose what you could do after knight d7, if there's nothing else amazing, is you could go knight g7 and then sort of maybe even go back to f5, you know, and sort of claim that you've just wrecked black's position here, or maybe knight h5 is better.
Mind you, that open g4 might help because you've got your bishop on d5 looking at g2, so maybe it's not too bad.
Yeah, although
you're not convinced.
There's no queens on really, so you know the likelihood that would be this might be a bit of a wreck, this position, because we're going to be doing something like bishop c4 to get rid of this bishop as well. I don't know. It's very fraught, this, you know. It's really I think black's position is really hanging on an edge there, you know, to but yeah, I mean,
he's going to regret watching Hikaru, isn't he?
It's but yeah, not clear at all. But I think that that Pierre has definitely he's managed to keep his initiative going. You know, so there's still some questions to be answered for black. But it doesn't mean to say that they can't be answered. But just it's just tricky somehow. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's have a look how Stevie and Danny are doing. Oh! Now there's the board's on fire. So we got this. So Danny actually managed to pick up the a pawn, and then c5 was Stevie Gordon's idea. Very creative, actually. Just looking to get rid of that pawn. And then Danny put a bit more fuel onto the fire with the move here. And then bishop f4, and we got this amazing pin collection where the pawn on d6 is unpriest to 2 pawns, but there's just pins blocking it somehow.
Yeah, we need the queen somewhere else if we're Danny, don't we?
Yeah, so Danny threw more fuel onto the fire with the move d3, now picking up the exchange. But now there's a counter attack here with bishop d6.
Okay.
And I have no idea.
Richie Archer saying, "Told you, boring draw."
Exactly. That's the problem with the game. It's just all the boring draws. Ooh, yeah. I don't know. I was thinking maybe we could.
Okay, yeah. To attack another queen.
Okay, one, but it's not so clear. We could take, and then I take here, and then I pin you.
There's still a pin. Same pin.
Yeah. Now the only question is, you might be able to. You might be able to go rook. Rook C. I was thinking rook C8. Check there. Bishop F1. Bishop C4.
Okay.
This would probably work out okay. I mean, H3, Rook F1 here, and then you have to give the piece back. You know, and rook and 4 versus. Oh no, well here would work. I don't think you can do better than that, because if you go G3, I'm not going to take with the rook. I'll take with the bishop, and then I'm going to have a sneaky bishop H3. So you don't want to allow that. That's the only thing that occurs to me. But I mean, you could go rook C8. You could play it safer and do this, and then you've got rook and bishop and an extra pawn. So we can spend a very nice New Year's Eve playing
but
that.
Unfortunately, we can't, because I'm going to need to wind up.
All right then. So this is very exciting. I'm not quite sure what Danny's going to do here, but yeah, credit to both players for giving it a hell of a go.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah, we're leaving. Been lots of good games today. Been lots of fun.
Lots of interesting games there. Yeah, absolutely.
And we wish everybody a very happy New Year. We expect to be back, tomorrow afternoon?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, to see
fresh and fruity.
Yes. Andy B was saying Colin McNabb won in 10 moves at Hastings on New Year's Day against a 2570 GM.
Oh my goodness.
So there can be a New Year's Day effect. So yeah, so don't be surprised if there's some quick games and there might be some long games. We'll see you not for round 7 but for round 8, when I expect there'll be a lot more action, exciting games, big clashes as we enter the final stages of the Hastings tournament.
Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and hope to see you tomorrow, and have a great new year.
Have a good time, and thanks all for watching.